Hello, you beautiful people, you. I am Spot of Nerd, if you haven't figured that out already, the one or two of you that have watched these. But you know what? I appreciate it regardless. And I promise you, we are going to do a full review, brand new episode coming out. Apparently, my phone is telling me also that we're doing live stuff here. This time I am not going to check to make sure that the volume is on. Maybe you'll hear this, maybe you won't. We'll figure that out later down the road. But anyway, what I was going to get at is I'm going to be doing a full episode, brand new, all seeing, all being yours truly, Spot of Nerd. Because really quick, before I get to the meat of what I want to talk about in this on air live, Landman is a new series that is currently out on Paramount Plus, and if you have not seen it, you are missing out on one of the greatest shows that has ever existed. The reason I'm waiting on the review is I've actually still got about two or three episodes left to finish because it's one of those shows you really want to just absorb and you want to really enjoy. You want to just be like, ah, I don't want this to end. But at the same time, I am praying to God that it gets a second season. It's amazing. And I know I've said that maybe for very few shows, maybe very few movies out there. But trust me, this is one of those shows that I pray just goes on and on and on and on. The best way I can describe it is imagine Breaking Bad meets Mayor of what was that one that Hawkeye did? Kingstown. So yeah, Breaking Bad meets Mayor of Kingstown meets like something comedy related with Adam Sandler, even though he's not in it, but that's the first person that popped in my brain. Um, it is absolutely amazing. It is Cliff Notes, Billy Bob is kind of this mediation type guy who helps out, the billionaire oil company people, person thingies. There's probably words and titles for these people, but obviously there's cartels involved. There's a great story with his family, and it really does kind of dive into the oil business. And I've looked into this because, being a television show, you think like, oh, this is probably just fake or this is probably whatever it is. But a lot of it is factual. And it is something that, of course, is going to lead into our main topic of, are we still going through a quote unquote culture war as the media states and everything else in between that states we are going through a culture war? And it's one of those things where, there's the debate of climate change, there's the debate of the DEI stuff, there's the wokeness, there's politics, there's so much going on in today's world right now. Nobody on God's green earth can keep track of all of it. And what we're trying to get at, what we're going to talk about here more is what is it all about? And does it exist? I do believe it does exist. Has it always exists? Absolutely. It's always existed. Culture has clashed, culture has come together, so on and so forth. But what ultimately we're kind of talking about here amongst a bazillion other channels out there is, the culture that exists in our television, in our movies, in our social media, in our technology, artificial intelligence that's soon to be taking over the world, blah, 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 blah. And what's really great about this show, Landman, just to finish that little piece off, is again, it's diving into the oil industry and the fact that currently, right now, modern society, you know, as much as it hates and despises fossil fuels are everything. It is in everything that you have, everything you touch, practically everything you almost eat. Now, to be very clear, I'm not saying you're drinking oil or gasoline or whatever it is. I'm simply saying the plastics that you have in your house, in your tables, on your, your bed sheets, in your cars that you have, even though you might have an electric vehicle, odds are that was made through or with fossil fuels. Now, again, that is a debate that is just ginormous cloud of discussion. And I'm not here to preach one or the other, clean energy. Yeah, human beings will eventually need to find a way to do that. But at this current point in time in human history, fossil fuels are still the dominant way of doing things. And it's just a really great representation in this show of that whole deal. And I encourage you to go check it out. And I encourage you to not only do that, but to do the research yourself to see what is factual, what is Hollywood, what is television, what is reality. And it leads us, like I said, it leads us to this quote unquote culture war that the media has basically said we're in. You look at Hollywood, you look at the whole nine yards, you look at these fires that are still going on in California, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, has the tide shifted? That's the biggest question that is going around now, especially you look at Zuckerberg with Facebook and Trump's soon to be presidency, which thank God we are. Oh, thank you, God. I'm just looking at the date. We're only 6 days away. Thank you, Jesus. It is about damn time. But, are these people just simply bowing to the quote unquote king, the metaphoric king? And it is. It's absolutely what it is. If you watched or listened to any of the Zuckerberg with him and Joe Rogan, he's playing victim. Let us be very honest here. And this is live, and I'm careful, as I've always said with most of my episodes, but let's be very clear. If the outcome of the election was different and Harris got in, this whole 180-degree shift from Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook would not be a thing. The fact checkers would still exist. The DEI stuff would still exist. Everything that he's doing to try to quote unquote change, we know would never happen if Harris had won the presidency for 2024. It's just facts. He is simply bowing down to whoever is in power. And what I'm getting at with all of that is, again, it does come back to the whole debate around culture. Because look at I'll even say just the last 8 years, since, whoa, where's the camera going? Since Trump's original presidency back in 2016. For 4 years, it was constant attacks, constant verbal just annihilation because Trump evil, Trump Hitler, bigot, 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 racist, racist, racist. And now, when we have part two, it's amazing how, again, the culture has shifted because they've seen the reality of what we've had since day one in quote unquote politics. Again, not to go down that road of spewing facts or truths or whatever it is, but you look at the last 20 years, just from politics, from the world, America, yada, yada, yada. Not a lot has gotten done. Let's be very, very clear and understanding about that. When it comes to progressing forward as a society, very, very little has actually happened. And if you ask me, when you do bring in the culture aspect, specifically with this channel, the movie reviews, the television reviews, the whole nine yards, we've gone backwards. Wholeheartedly, hand to God, I am not afraid to say that. We have gone backwards. And yeah, I'm at that age now. I think I'm in my 40s. I don't even, math is out the window. It's really late. It's actually early in the morning right now. What I'm saying is, if you think about it, back in my day, the 90s, television, music, everything in between was some of the most unique and amazing aura of awesome that ever existed. And let me give you some examples. One of the biggest things currently in the fictional world that everybody's been, having a debate. And when I use the word debate with quotation marks, I'm pretty confident you can guess where I'm also going in that direction. But at the same time, I've got to be very, very careful. I'm going to give you the example of the new Captain America film. There is going to be a new Captain America 4, which is in February. And we know February to be Black History Month, um, so on and so forth. So, a lot of people are kind of saying it's nice to see the Falcon as Captain America. I have no issue with it, other than the fact that side topic, I don't think he can hold a feature film. I really don't. I think he's amazing as the Falcon. Sure, you want to give the mantle Captain America to him. Fine. I just don't think he can hold the mantle of a full feature length film. That's beside the point. What the debate around is of course, look, a superhero that looks like me. And I'm simply going to give you the example back in the 1990s with Ghostbusters Extreme, a cartoon. And you're wondering probably to yourself, what in the absolute fuck is this kid talking about? In the 90s, we had some of the most amazing characters, albeit fictional, that ever existed, and we did not give a shit if they were female, if they were gay, if they were lesbian, if they were straight, if they were black, if they were white, if they were Hispanic, the whole nine yards. We did not care because it was something that wasn't discussed 24/7. Yeah, we didn't have social media, we didn't have cell phones, whatever you want to call it. But simply the fact of the matter is, with Ghostbusters Extreme, you had the Ghostbusters, and one of them was in a wheelchair. And you know what? We thought absolutely no different between him and the rest of the Ghostbusters. We just loved the fact that it was a new Ghostbusters series based after the original The Real Ghostbusters series. Then you look at Star Trek back in the 90s. You had Captain Janeway, who literally was captain and now became an admiral of Starfleet. You had Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. You had what's her face, who is the Terminator lady, which I'm spacing right now, but you know who I'm talking about. Basically took on Skynet and destroyed the Terminators. Obviously John Connor, but all I'm saying is look at the music. We had Tupac, we had Biggie, we had Dre. Like, look at television. TGIF, Family Matters, Fresh Prince. Um, there's probably other stuff. I mean, The Cosby Show. Like, yeah, okay, these might be dipping more into the 80s and the 90s. But then you get to today, and I'll kind of wrap this up, this little shindig up, because like I've said, I wanted to kind of keep these brief, but at the same time, get a point across. And hopefully I am getting a point across because the culture war isn't going to be discussed in a 15-minute video that I'm doing right now. It's just not, and it's going to be a conversation that I hope continues for a very long time because it needs to. Like I've said in the beginning of this video, culture is going to be butting heads, but culture is also going to be coming together. It's just a fact. And I think right now the big shift with President Trump now stepping in for his second term is we are seeing an incredibly huge shift back to the 90s type aura. And I absolutely love every second of it. I really, really do, because the way I see it, we're getting back to common sense. Criminals are being punished, they're having consequences for their actions. You look at, I'm trying to think of something else that I got to be super careful of, but the fictional side of things. Look at the way that Hollywood is. I mean, they've learned the very, very hard way by losing billions upon billions of dollars at the box office from the television series to everything else in between. I've even mentioned it through some of these reviews that I've done. Movies in 2025 are going to have to shift if you ever want to get people back into the movie theater seats. It's not rocket science. When it comes to Star Wars, we're done. We don't even think about you anymore. I mean, look at this new they actually just did an article recently on the I think it was like Screen Rant or something else, but Star Wars Skeleton Crew is supposedly the lowest rated Star Wars series ever. That's saying something when it comes to in comparison to the Acolyte. But really, it doesn't actually surprise anybody because everybody is simply over it. They don't even consider or even think twice about Star Wars anymore. And I wonder why that is. If you don't know why that is, you haven't been paying attention. So I'll simply leave you with that in as an example. You look at the fact we've said it here. I'm just one of 1,000 people that have said the exact same thing. When it comes to Marvel, after Endgame, Marvel took a complete and absolute nosedive into the ground and destroyed itself. There is not a single piece, other than maybe No Way Home, Spider-Man, that you can consider a good or decent film. Everything else has been absolute trash. So when we see this culture shift into what we are right now, or what we're going to be going into President Trump's second term, the culture has to shift, and it has to shift back to we've seen it the last few years of what a Biden culture can do when it comes to politics, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to social media, when it comes to basic information passed between your fellow man. It's really not that hard to understand or grasp the concept of what the culture shift is and what is going to happen in the future. Because what it does come ultimately down to money. It's always going to be about money. And the fact of the matter is, when you look at this fire situation, when you look at what Newsom is doing, Mr. Governor of California, I just pray and I hope that people are really starting to pay attention to what is really going on. Because I'll tell you what, right now, I want to be on this side, the side that is going to change things for the better. They're going to change things for to make sure that you have a better life, that I have a better life, and that we get back to some common sense. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I can only imagine what's to come in the future. And right now, and it's for the first time in a very long while, I can honestly say, wow, there's going to be some positive, great things coming. I really, really see it. And it's been a very long time since I've been able to think about stuff like that. So I'll just leave you with that. And I hope you feel the same way. If you don't, let me know in the comments. You know what? Let's talk about it. And maybe we can do, I've said this 1,000 times, but I'd love it. Do a collaboration. Why don't you hop on here? Let's have a debate. We'll pick a topic and we'll go from there. Or we can just talk about random shit. All cool to me. But all jokes aside, huge, huge thanks. Seriously, for everybody that watches, everybody that listens. You guys rock. You really, really do. And I thank you so, so much for doing so. If you haven't already, I would love you so, so much. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button right down below. Give me the thumbs up. All the goodies that social media is and ever was. And we'll catch you guys in the next thingamabobber flippity floppity floop.